welcome to the Uncle's channel. Thanks for watching today. Let's talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants Unleashed at least one more time here. And no, I'm not changing my opinion on the game. I still give it a 4 out of 10 because I think it's a fairly boring experience. But there is one scene in the game that we really do need to talk about because they are harkening back to the original Ninja Turtles game on the NES, which I truly do love that game. And I know a lot of people don't really care for it because of the insane difficulty behind it. It has almost like a meme status at this point, but I'm not here to defend that game. I'm just here to simply talk about how the new Turtles game references back to the original one here. Now, at one point in the game, you do go visit Volvy, who's the guy that Michelangelo hosts his podcast with, and they bring Master Splinter and the rest of the Turtles along because they want to talk about video games. In particular, they want to talk about a game called Sushi Sharks on an old 8-bit system. And Sushi Sharks is the name they're going to be using in place of the Ninja Turtles game because obviously they're not going to mention a game about the Turtles inside a Turtle universe here. They're going to have to make up their own little, cartoon or video game franchise. And so as the Sushi Sharks, basically mutated sharks with different weapons and whatnot, they never show any footage of the actual game, which is a really big letdown. Just another reason this game gets a 4 out of 10. But at one point they're talking about it. Master Splinter sits down, has a clearly N64 controller, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And then he begins to play the game and he talks about how in an aquarium, there's electric seaweed, you have to defuse the bombs, and you use your worst shark, who's going to be Doug, in order to defuse the most difficult bombs because you can sacrifice his health because he has the worst weapon for a hitbox. And it talks about what his weapon is, and it's a type of knife that's a very small knife. I think the actual word was Yanagiba knife. I don't actually know what type of knife that is, but talks about how that's the worst weapon in the game because of the small hitboxes, and you want to go ahead and sacrifice that turtle, in these seaweed levels and save your better turtles for later on in the game. And clearly they're talking about using Raphael inside of the seaweed levels because the Sai was pretty much a useless weapon inside the original Turtles game. And even Raphael makes a little joke about it. He says something like, "I'm glad the game isn't like the real world, otherwise I'd have the worst weapon." And so they're even acknowledging it is clearly Raphael had the worst weapon in the original Turtles game. And then he continues on talking about how the best turtle named Kenny has a janitor's floor mop, so he can actually have the longest hitbox. He's the best turtle in the game. Clearly referencing back to Donatello, having the bow inside the original Turtles game. He had enormous hitbox, could hit pretty much any enemy from far away, could cheese most of the boxes or bosses as well. And so they're talking about all of that. They talk about how there's rotating spikes inside the water level at the same time. And so they're clearly referencing the dam level inside the Ninja Turtles game. They're clearly referencing the hitboxes of Raphael, hitboxes of Donatello, and they're talking about it being a game called Sushi Sharks for the Mutants Unleashed. Now, what would have been a really cool part of this game, instead of just simply talking about it and letting it play out, let us have a mini game to actually play through, like a version of Sushi Sharks, which is clearly the Ninja Turtles game, actually defuse the bombs and have like a little mini game, to go through inside Mutants Unleashed, which was a main complaint in my actual review of the game itself, because all of these side missions are just simply talking. Some of the talking is better than others, and this is probably one of the best talking scenes inside the game, because they are referencing back to one of my all-time favorite games, and making fun of themselves and their own franchise. But anyway, I still don't think Mutants Unleashed is worth your money, but it's worth at least seeing the game to get a small chuckle out of. But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out my other videos listed up above, and go out there, find a great game to play. Simply have a great rest of the day. And yes, I do know Belle has decided to join me for pretty much this entire video here. And so if you don't have a cat, get yourself a cat. They're like the greatest animal that ever existed. I mean, look at this. You can't beat a cat.